Chapter 22. So Jem cries at the end of the trial, and he's not crying because he was wrong. He's crying because the situation, quote, ain't right. He said, it just ain't right. It ain't right. Again, his signs of maturity are that he cries with compassion for other people. He cries because he hurts for other people. He cried when he hurt for Boo Radley with the cement being put in the tree hole, and now he cries for Tom Robinson because he just can't believe that a group of people would convict this man when he's obviously innocent, and they convicted him solely on the color of his skin. And he just can't believe that that can happen. And he even says to Atticus before he goes to bed, how could they do it? How could they do it, sir? And Atticus says, I don't know, but they've done it before. They did it tonight, and they'll do it again. And when they do, it seems that only children weep. Children, because they haven't learned this problem of society, where society is the one that teaches children that there's a difference between black and white, that one is better than the other. And, children, they don't know it until they learn it. And so if you know somebody who is prejudiced, it's because they learned it somewhere. They didn't come out acting like that. And Atticus says, I don't know how they can do it, but they did it before, they did it tonight, and they'll do it again. And that's a really, really sad statement about society. The next morning, when Atticus sits down to breakfast, there's a chicken and there's rolls and all kinds of food. And Calpurnia says, you better come look at this. And they go in the kitchen, and the kitchen table is just loaded with all kinds of awesome, awesome homemade food. And it's all from the black community. And Calpurnia says they are just so grateful. They are so thankful to you that they want to show their respect. Tom Robinson's daddy sent over this chicken. And Atticus has tears in his eyes. And he says, please tell them that I'm so very, very grateful, but they must never do this again. Times are too hard for them to sacrifice to give this stuff to me. I understand, and I'm grateful, but I don't want them to go without. So the kids finally, they finish up breakfast. Dill has come over, and they finish breakfast, and they go outside, and there's Miss Stephanie, town gossip, Miss Maudie, who is normally the voice of reason, and Mr. Avery, the one who can do really good tricks. And they're all standing in a circle talking, and when the kids come out, they all look their way, and then Miss Maudie calls them over. When they walk over there, Miss Stephanie, she just starts right in on the kids. So I heard about y'all. I mean, I didn't see you there because I wasn't there because, that would not, she's too good to have gone to the trial. But I heard about it. It's all over town. Did your daddy put you up to that? Was that some kind of publicity stunt? How did that make you feel watching your daddy get beat? Like, what? These are the kinds of things that an adult says to children. Like, what is wrong with her? And Miss Maudie steps in and says, oh, you hush. I don't have time to listen to you and talk to you all day long. Come on, kids. And she takes them to her house. And when they go in, she's got cake for them. Remember, this is kind of her specialty. When she makes a big cake for the adults, she always makes 3 little cakes for the kids. And today there's only 2 little cakes. And they're like, that's not like Miss Maudie to forget about Dill. And then she cuts a piece of the big adult cake and gives it to Jem. And remember, in the previous chapters, Calpurnia has started to call Jem Mister, and Jem started to act more and more grown up, telling Scout what to do and what not to do, and she hates that. This is Miss Maudie giving him, the nod of adulthood, and gives him a piece off the big cake. And she sits down and tries to talk to him because he's obviously upset. And of course, Atticus has talked to Miss Maudie. They're good friends. And he has told her Jem's reaction to the trial and how upset he is. And there's a couple of things that go on here in her conversation where she's able to talk to the kids, especially Jem, about it. And on page 215, she says, there are some men in this world who are born to do our unpleasant jobs for us. Your father is one of them. That's a pretty high honor, right? That the town trusts him to do what's right. Even though they may not be comfortable doing it, they know what's right and they trust Atticus Finch to do it for them. And Jem starts talking about how, I thought the people in Macomb were good people and they're not. And she's like, we're the safest folk. We're so rarely called on to be Christians, but when we are, we've got men like Atticus to go for us. What does she mean by that statement? We're so rarely called on to be Christians. What does it mean to be called on to be a Christian? But the town trusts Atticus to go for them. The entire town knows that Atticus Finch is a good, moral, God-fearing man. And they trust him to do the dirty, unpleasant jobs that they're not willing to step up and do themselves. And Jem is still pretty upset. Well, who in this town did one thing to help Tom Robinson? And Miss Maudie says, now, if you stop and look around, maybe you'd see. You got all of his colored friends. They all gave money and food and support. You got Judge Taylor. You've got Heck Tate. You got all the people like us. And in that us, she's including herself and she's including the kids. And she's including that whole group of men that came to Atticus's house and stood outside on the sidewalk and discussed the fact that there was going to be trouble at the jail with Tom Robinson there. Those people are concerned. They don't want Tom to be lynched. She points out that, did you ever stop and think about why Judge Taylor appointed Atticus? He did it on purpose. He knew that Atticus would do the right thing and would defend this innocent man no matter what color his skin was. And so he picked him on purpose. And it really makes the kids start to think a little bit differently about the people of their town. On page 216, Miss Maudie gives you a really great quote. She says that she was sitting on her porch waiting for them to come home, and she thought to herself, Atticus Finch won't win. He can't win. Not because he's not able, but because of the society. All right, he's going up against a whole society of people. You can't change everybody's mind at one time. But she says, he won't win, he can't win, but he's the only one that can keep a jury out so long. That jury, any other time, would have gone out, said, he's black, he's guilty, and come back in. They never took the time to consider the facts of the case. Atticus made them consider the facts. And this is the first time that this has ever happened. So she says, and I thought to myself, we're making baby steps. Baby steps, but at least it's steps in the right direction. That's your key word for chapter 22 is baby steps. Okay? So they have this discussion, and it gives the kids really a lot to think about. And then they come outside, and Miss Rachel is on her way over, and she tells Dill, you get in the backyard, danger's coming, and all this. And before she can get the kids away, Miss Stephanie says, haven't you heard? She says, Bob Ewell stopped Atticus at the post office corner, spit in his face, and told him he'd get him if it took him the rest of his life. What a gossip. Why would she tell that to the children? She just told the children that this man spit in their father's face and threatened their father's life. That's not the kind of thing that you tell an 8 and 12-year-old, and then Dill is 9. You don't tell kids that kind of thing. But oh, Miss Stephanie, she's got a juicy, juicy bit of gossip, and she's going to spread it to anyone she can. That's the end of chapter 22. Now you're going to send me that email because that's the end of this batch of videos. So 19 through 22. Send me one email with whatever keywords you heard from 19 through 22.